Today we're going back in time, but not too much, to the LEGO Star Wars Sandspeeder. As mentioned before, today we are checking out the LEGO Sandspeeder. Now, I believe this set comes from the year of 2018, so this is a little old, so we had to pull this one out of the archives, but you can see the box behind me. And one thing I think is funny is, for those of you that don't know, this Sandspeeder model is actually based off of an old Kenner toy, and this is actually what it kind of looked like. And it was basically just a brown snowspeeder with some kind of orangish red fins coming off the top, and you can see those fins here. And I actually think it's really cool that LEGO has kind of made a vehicle, or a LEGO version of a vehicle, that was only made by Kenner and wasn't anything more than just a toy. Now, one thing that's kind of funny is that Kenner toy took place on the planet of Tatooine, and this box art takes place on the planet of Jakku because of The Last Jedi. Rey is kind of go with the planet of Jakku, so I think that's kind of why they did it. You can see the Graveyard of Giants back there, and what looks like the Nema Outpost arches right there. And I think this box art is really awesome. We have our little explosions with a little moisture vaporator and a little gray snake, as well as just some really cool rocky scenery with our 2018 box art up top. So with that said, let's get into the build. Now that we're finished, we can take a look at it as a whole, and first impressions, this thing is just as cool as I remember. This thing is very, 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 very cool, and I really like all of the tan details. Now, this in the Star Wars universe, is a T-47 land speeder, or airspeeder rather, and that is basically kind of like a plane. An airspeeder is made for flying around in atmosphere, so that is basically what this would do, and this one would be privately owned, much like a Cessna in our world. So this is kind of someone's privately owned T-47 airspeeder, and they would fly it around, but this one is converted into a sandspeeder to be better adapted to the warm, hot, sandy environment, and so we will take a closer look at that right now. Taking a closer look at our Sandspeeder, you can see all of the really cool tan details on this, and that is definitely weird to see for all of you Star Wars fans, which are probably used to the normal T-47 that we saw in Empire Strikes Back, that was either white and gray or white and orange, and to me, I think that those look cooler, but this one is definitely fun to see because it is different. Now, starting off at the front, you can see these two kind of crescent shapes at the front, and that is a sticker. One of the, well, actually, it is the only sticker on this set, and I think that it is awesome that LEGO was able, well, no, sorry, it is one of 3 stickers on this set, and I think it is pretty awesome that LEGO is able to pack this thing with detail and only have a few stickers. Now, you can see underneath it that it is actually made up of 2 of those front hull plates or pieces, and those are stacked up on top of each other, which I thought was really weird when I first built this thing. And it is very tall. If I kind of take off this wing, which is actually very easy to do because it is attached with those Technic pieces, you can see that this thing is very tall and kind of looks like a boat, and the only reason that it wouldn't really work quite as a boat with just taking the wings off is this is actually part of the main fuselage section, and that is actually, I'm pretty sure, the cooling vanes of the engines, and those are one of the very key signature parts of the T-47 airspeeder, and I think it's really awesome that LEGO has the parts to be able to add that detail without any stickers. While we're back here, we'll check out the tail turret, and that is actually a little turret, not the little cable shooter like in Empire Strikes Back, so we do actually have a small tail gunner position, and that is a stud shooter. So if you don't know how those work, you push this little dark gray button here, and the stud is going to shoot off, roll off the table, and be lost forever. Now, when you go to the side, both sides are identical, and that one just magically bounced onto the table. Pretty weird. But the fins have their own stickers, and that is both or same on both sides, and those have some very cool details with some really cool printing on that sticker for some maybe stripes or artwork to make this thing look really cool. Now, another iconic feature of the T-47 is this whole bulge right here, which includes our cannons, which are our main cannons, which actually have a feature underneath that are spring-loaded shooters that you just kind of push in sideways on that, and it will shoot away and maybe get lost forever. But those are a little bit bigger and much easier to find than the studs. Around the back here we have our little engines, and those are supposed to kind of go through here, and we also have another iconic feature. Oh look, more magic, okay. We have another very iconic feature of the T-47, and these are a little harder to get, but those are the air brakes, and those actually control the yaw and a little bit of the roll of the T-47. Just one goes up and it starts to turn this way, because there's more drag on one side, and I think it's really cool that sometimes Star Wars vehicles have very plausible mechanisms to how they can maneuver, much like the Y-Wing and the Millennium Falcon also have fairly plausible mechanisms. Now, you can see the wing shape of this T-47 model is very, very nice, and you can see that it is also very accurate. The way it comes down here and then goes straight for a little bit, goes up to the front, and then kind of rounds itself off at the front and lines up perfectly with that front slope, and I just think that this thing is looking really nice, and I think LEGO did a very good job. Now, if you open up the cockpit, you see our front and back pilots, well, pilot and gunner, and those can just lift out of there. The gunner is a little bit easier. His legs kind of hook underneath there and go like that, whereas the pilot is a little harder, actually attached by studs, and you just kind of wiggle her out of there and you can get her out. Now you can see our front and back seats with the little consoles in front of them, and I think that it's very nice that LEGO has given us a couple of printed tiles, just because those are very nice and make it so that we don't have to put a little sticker on a 2x1 cheese slope. Now, with that said, we also have a little bit of cargo space in there that can hold some of your extra studs for your stud shooter, because you probably will end up losing one of those, and that also contains the 2 pilot pistols that we get with our figures. Speaking of which, let's check those guys out. Moving on to our figures, starting with the gunner on the left, he has a white helmet with some very, very cool detailing on there, and this is all prints, so you can just admire that LEGO has some very, very nice prints on their helmets, and I have always loved the LEGO Star Wars helmets because of their amazing print details. Now, while we're around the back, you can see the back print actually looks very, very nice and detailed, and that is, of course, the back of his flight vest, which is actually the same on both figures, so I'll just kind of talk about one. But you can see that the front of the flight vest has the little tubes and stuff going around it, and all the straps and everything that you see in the orange flight suits in the Empire Strikes Back movie, but this is just kind of a gray version of the same suits, and it just looks really, really cool. And again, I really love that helmet. We just kind of have our 2018 pilot head, and I think that looks nice. You can see he has his little visor printed on there instead of dual molded as we saw in the 2018 X-Wing, and I think that it still looks very nice, but I did like that dual molded helmet. On the ground you can see a little snake, and that is just a really basic little gray rattlesnake piece from LEGO. Nothing special, it's just a little snake. Now our pilot figure has a maroon helmet, and it is actually a lady, but other than that it is basically the same figure as our gunner. And you can see that the printing on the helmet is obviously different, and I think it's very cool that they didn't just kind of transfer the print over and try to make it look like different people, but just kind of the same print. They actually give them individual prints that are exclusive to this set, and I really like that. So with that said, let's get on to our overview. Overall, I think this thing looks really cool. Even the techniques from 2018 are still pretty relevant in today's world in 2021 as of the recording of this video. I think that this thing still looks pretty good even though it is getting a little old, and I really like the figures. They have plenty of detail, and this is definitely a really cool little kit, and the only Snowspeeder or T-47 Airspeeder that I have, so I definitely like it for that. Now, with that said, you can get some of the current LEGO Star Wars sets in the description below. You can see some links down there and you can click those and get them for yourself. Helps out the channel and it helps out you because you're getting an awesome LEGO set. Now, with that said, be sure to check out this video, which is the video YouTube recommends for you, and be sure to check out this playlist, which is our LEGO Star Wars playlist, and that is awesome. Trust me, you want to check that out. So I'll see you next time on LuclearFusion.